Hello everyone and welcome to yet another video of PUBG analysis. I'm Toby and today, as you can see just below me, we are going to hop on in to PCS2 NA on North America, their grand finals. We're going to start off day one, game one, as you'd always see it. So got to start at the beginning. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. I hope you're enjoying the stay. There's a lot of different PUBG content on my channel, so feel free to go explore. And if you're watching on Twitch, any questions you may have during the broadcast, then ask. I mean, as I've said before, and I think I'm going to say this in the start of every broadcast of these types that we're doing, this is not a come and learn something from Toby type stream. This is a we are exploring all of this together. Because the thing is, the reason that I came up with the idea of doing these streams in the beginning is because I was doing this by myself off stream. I was watching the bots just like this, drawing around and doing different things to try and figure things out by myself in the beginning. And then I realized, why not have other people's opinions on it? So I started doing these streams, and now we have over, I think, like 500 hours of analysis content on the YouTube channel. So there's a lot to dig into. And yeah, it's lovely. So if you have any questions, or if there's something you feel like I'm saying that you don't agree with, or whatever it may be, say so, because I'm no god of PUBG knowledge. I like to think I'm pretty smart, but there are situations where I say something that you don't disagree with, and then say it, and we can have a discussion about it. That's what this is all about. Everyone together learning more about PUBG. So NA is where we're headed. Game number one. Day number one, boom, planes in the sky. And where are we headed? Northern plane. Let's draw up the plane like we always do, just so we have something to analyze from. We'll try and draw it a little more straight. Okay, so northern plane path, we'll stop already there. Northern plane path means, well, two things. One thing in particular, there's probably not going to be anyone down here in the beginning of the game. Duh. Two, since the circle has to touch the plane path to some extent, it probably won't be a hard south circle either, which means there's going to be, for the most part, a lot of space down south. Okay, so now the circle, as you can see, it does touch the plane path, but it is actually rather south, which means if you're 303, for example, or if you're hard down here, you will know for a fact there's quite a bit of space to maneuver around on the south side of the circle. It's just a good info, so if you get a hard shift down there, even if you get a northern hard shift, if you know what area of the circle or previous circle, in this case the entire map because it's the first circle, if you know what area of the map is free or like really open, you also, I mean, obviously you also know where the opponents then are, but you also then it just helps out a lot in terms of trying to make rotations and stuff, knowing where the pressure points, like where there's a lot of players clustered and where there's supposed to be more open space. So right now, because of the plane path, and obviously we just started the game, there's plenty of space down south. Just keep it in mind. Let's see. Nothing really going on early on. There's a lot of red logos, which is a little confusing, but you have VTS down here, and then you have FLB looting up on the north side of things. Nothing really too interesting. This is kind of an interesting split. Radiance, I believe is the name, right? Radiance? Radiance? I believe it's Radiance, yeah. That's not a split you see too often. Of course, the plane path means that they probably didn't want to fly in and oh. Now you could have flown down here, taken cars and gone down if you wanted to go here. But interesting split from Radiance. But to be fair, I mean, in this situation it works out perfectly, right? Because if you look at the circle, they're dead center. So we're not gonna be complaining about that whatsoever. Let's see. Where are we headed? Towards the center we go. Sonic's already leaving. Tickleson and Mime making their way up the hill. H-Win comes in. Shrimsy comes in. And now they're fighting inside here. Okay. So fortunately for Radiance, they stacked the right compound. Loss is by himself. But he actually should have vision on the hillside from his position. So he should be able to shoot already now. Maybe he's rotating instead. Nope. Trying to move a little further up to get some space. Sonics lose one. Nice hold by Radiance. And that's gonna be them bouncing off. So again, I think Sonics are probably caught by surprise, because this is a pretty, I mean, you see a team like Liquid do it all the time. Loot Picado, rotate up here. It's very rare that anyone will beat you to that rotation, but because Radiance literally landed here and looted, they will have the start on it. Am I going to talk about what happened to SDK and Liquid? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Jewel and Zen, they're fighting over in the east side hills. Again, teams don't want to rotate through Los Leones, and because there's so much space south, we're already now kind of, if we draw a line here and saying this is where teams don't want to go, not because you do kind of want to go to Chuma, it's not the biggest deal, but you can see already now how little space we're forcing the teams into. So if everyone's using the same rotation paths north around, you're gonna run into each other. I mean, teams will run into each other because you're rotating like it's phase 2 or 3, according to how much space you're actually utilizing in the circle. Because no one wants to go through Lost, no one wants to spend time driving south around. Maybe you'll see a team like 303 try and wrap south, maybe go Chuma, maybe go the hillsides and the out here, Church potentially. But already at this point, rotating Church would be really optimistic for a team like 303, because they're still far out. Ill, gonna go south around, I like it. Hard doing the exact same thing. They're gonna go Chuma, they're gonna get Church, scout forward, see it's open, smart play by them. J-Sang and Maluk are there as well. Ill, they're going really far. Okay, wrapping all the way around. Let's see the next circle. Ooh, that's a tough shift. Why is it a tough shift, Toby, you might ask? Because for starters, and I'm not gonna draw, we should have a counter of how many times I've drawn this hillside. This hill is, as you guys most likely know, extremely tall and wonky and really hard to maneuver like up and down if you have a vehicle. There are paths. You have a path over here, you have a path up here, and there are different ways you can get up the hill. But for the most part, you don't want to spend too much time going up and down and up and down, so you want to be on the correct side, whichever side you feel like that is, from the beginning. So you don't have to go up or down the hill. And this area of the map is actually quite a big chunk of the circle, as you can see. I mean, how much is this of the new circle? I don't know, like, if this is 25%, it's probably like 20% of the circle is an area where you'll most likely only see ATC. I mean, Norcus is up here, Agila is down here as well. I don't expect FBI to go up, or FBL to go up in this direction. They're probably gonna wrap around the other way. So there's already a lot of space of the circle which aren't really going to be utilized. And then what do we have left? Picado, the city no one wants to go into. Okay, so that's not really something you prefer either. Then you have the big crater in which no one's going to be playing. Yes, you could have a team playing inside the compound, but that's probably not going to happen at this point in the game. So that's another massive area of the circle no one's really utilizing. Then you have the big open lands towards the north. No one's going to be playing around in the open. No one's going to be running around in the open down here. And you can see, like, the more we start drawing up these things, the more we start to realize, holy shit, despite the circle being a pretty standard phase 2 circle, there's really not a lot of space to play around. Unless, of course, if a team decides to go to power grid at this point, but that would be very surprising. Maybe 303 could use it as a rotation point to go over the top and find somewhere else to go. But WTSG was playing the crater. Well, they'll play the ridges. Ridges you can play all that you want. The ridge lines you can play all that you want, but I'm saying you're not going to see anyone sit inside the crater, which really is taking up a lot of space. And yes, you can play inside the compound. It is a building, you can play it. It's just you're not really setting yourself up for a good rotation. Or like by going to a compound like this, because it's in a valley and you can't really scout anything, you're essentially saying, okay, either A, we just sit here and we hope that the game ends on our compound. Because if the game ends there, then you're fine. I mean, if you can sit there all game and not have to do anything, well, no big deal. You'll take those any day of the week. But if you have to leave, there's probably going to be a team here, 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 or here who will have eyes on you. And then getting out of that compound is going to be extremely difficult. So you're not exactly helping yourself by committing to a compound that's an easy target if you go there early on. If it's your only last option, you're in the middle of a rotation, oh my god, nothing is available, we're being shot at by everyone, sure, crash the compound. But for the most part, you want to get yourself in a more how can you say it, in a more not advantageous position, but a more dynamic position. Does that make sense? Where you can move around and stuff. Whereas to when you're locked down in a building, like literally in a house, you're somewhat isolated. I hope that makes sense. Let's see what happens from here. I kind of like the split that ATC has got going, but I'm actually surprised that no one's contested them. Mela and Marslik must really be shooting at everything, because this is a pretty usual spot to go to. But no one seems to be contesting. Magila is making a move. Where is... Norkis is still in San Martin. Is he DC'd? No, he's moving. Okay, so he's here. He's just very far away from his teammates. FPL did rotate over the top. Okay, still be sitting up on the power grid side of things. We should have a name for this. This whole ridge line. What? Picado Hill? Picado Crater? Picado Hill? I don't know. I've never really... What do you guys call this ridge? Do you have a name for it? Any of you in the chat? Do you have a name for this whole mountain-looking wall? Sonic's lost one, but they're still splitting Picado. I like it. Ill finally coming into the circle. Took a while. And now we hard shift southwest. Okay, that's fun, because now we know we're going to shift away from these things in just a moment. So we're going to go down into the compound somewhere. And look at this. Let's go power plateau. Picado grid. Meh. I mean, I guess any name works. It's just, it's funny because it's such a big thing. That's what she said. It's such a big like part of the map, and we don't have that one, like just like volcano on a angle, you know. We don't have that one specific name that everyone uses for it. It's kind of funny when you think of. I call it my mark. Look at my mark. Yeah, I do that a lot too, Salty. That's a good one. Okay, so at the, just before the circle pops, we're in a pretty decent spread. Given again, as I said, my mark is it's not really being used by anyone except for FPL. So when the circle pops and we look at this now, how many? I mean, if you're sitting on the east side, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, 8 teams not inside the circle, including including Norkis. He's miles behind. But 8 teams, so half the teams are not inside the circle. What are your opportunities to get inside this circle? You have roads. Let's just draw up some of the roads. That's pretty straightforward. All right. So you have a road grid that you can enter through. But, I mean, this is a big mountain. This is a big mountain. This is an open hillside. Open hillside. Open hillside. You see what I'm saying? Field. Like, even if you come in from here, where the hell do you go? If you don't know, like, if you haven't had a chance to scout Rainbow, or if you haven't had a chance to scout forward, it's really dangerous to just drive through here, because you will have to commit to crashing something. I mean, of course, having a hard shift like this in phase 3 means that there's probably going to be something available. And even if it's not available, it's probably just like with VTS, a team that's splitting. So if you crash something, the players will either leave, or you will probably have like number advantage in that engagement should there be a fight happening. But how the hell do you get into the circle? There's so many teams out here that has to somehow get themselves into the western part. They can't all just drive down the road, because you have these 2 teams shooting at them, and as soon as they come down the hill, they're gonna be blasted by the people in the motel, and the other side for that sake. If you go north around, you're pinning yourself, like you're forcing yourself through a crevasse or valley, which is really narrow, so anyone sitting in Picado up on the hillside will have a pretty clear shot at you. If you're going north around, which honestly is probably not that bad an idea, the issue is still, if there's a team sitting up here waiting, you're going to be in trouble. And also, if you're driving down this hill, everyone sitting in the compounds will be shooting at you. So it's really difficult, actually, to get inside this circle, despite the fact that it's big and open. It's a pretty hard circle to maneuver to. Like, if you're dual, what's your thought here? Now, I didn't watch these games, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just talking out of having seen circles pop before and seen pro teams play them before, and tendencies and whatnot. But if you're dual, what's your go-to play? Like, you've been out here for a while. Let's see, they've been chilling here for a while. They know that Oath is down here. They probably know that Sen Zenith is playing around the warehouse compound as well. So what do? You can't really wrap north around because that's into mountains and into the city, and you know there's gonna be people down south here as well. Do you backtrack when the circle pops? This is not an easy play to make. I would say wrap south around, but you're just gonna get in so much more trouble when you make it down there. Let's see, they are wrapping south. Okay, so everyone's rotating over. STK is gonna go through the middle. ATC crashing themselves into Picardo. Duel will be wrapping south around, but now we get to the situation that we were in before. Where do you go? This is open. That's really fortunate. Surprised that Comets is what they're called, right? Yeah, surprised that Comets aren't actually splitting this 2-2. They go out. It's only phase 3. You can still tank blue a little while. Scouting forward. Wait, they're ripping all the way around. One dies, and now they go. Yep. They're just taking way too long. I'm not even paying attention to the rest of it right now. I'm just looking at Duel. This rotation is taking way too long, and he dies to blue. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have one team that's gonna hold you out, and you're doomed. And had they tried to drive down here, they would still have been shot at by so many different players. So they were fucked. I mean, once that circle popped, they were pretty much doomed. So they end up dying. Zenith take the fight to LBR. End up fighting in blue. Neither of them have anything to play around. CG is going to be there, ready to take them all out, and they all die to blue. Ice Tech does manage to get away. Matt is going to stay alive as well. Maybe. Yep, he does get in. And everyone else are cramming themselves into compounds. I like the commitment. Jazza and Penta immediately getting back towards the teammates. STK, they came out of the top side of Picardo. They're wrapping for the hills, I would think. Yep, playing the ridge lines in the hill. Smart play by them, because the only real counterpoint to this position is the hillside up here. And now that they see this circle, and I believe they saw... Yeah, they probably haven't seen it. But if they saw as well that Chopper and his teammate were rotating down to the compound, they will know for a fact that this is free. So now you can sit here. Until, I mean, whenever the next circle pops, you're pretty much safe up here because you will have the high ground in the circle. Everyone's fighting up above. They are getting shot at a little bit from up there. CG will have to make rotation because obviously you cannot play down the hill in this spot, so they need to crash something. And making their way down the hill. And now we're here. Now STK should be fine in terms of sitting in a decent spot where teams don't have a clear shot at them. Where do we go from here? Oath. I like the fact that Rillo is down here trying to play contain against 303. A little isolated, but still, it's all right to have like a again dynamic position where you can move around. New circle pops somewhat center. Okay, so VTS, I mean, all the teams that are inside the circle currently are like, haha, that's easy. And everyone else is like, god damn it. Because now we're hitting the point where there really is not a whole lot to play. We are also excluding some areas, but if you're Oath, you have to push through open field. And to some extent, VTS will have clear line of sight. Line of sight. It's shot and sight. Line of sight on you to shoot. That's what I was trying to say. Pretty much on your entire rotation into the circle. DGE have a similar situation. There are some ridges over here you can play, but they will be in vision of STK for the most part, and also they have teams around them, so that's going to be a tricky one. The thing is, if you're DGE, you don't want to have anyone rotate underneath you and actually get into a position they can play from, because then they will be the ones sitting and containing you. But that's going to matter, or that's going to depend a lot on what STK does. If they allow for a team to come into the south side, that's not good for them. They don't want to have anyone sitting right next door. But there still is 4 teams down here that have to do something, so we'll see what's going to end up happening. DGE, one gets knocked, 3 or 3 crashes. Grab around, but they did it too early. They went in too early. And Monte is going to be the last one surviving. Krop and Kozak try to push forward. They find one. So the south is cleared out pretty much. Only one player, of all these teams that were down here, only one player survived, and that's Krop. He was the only one to make it into the circle. And let's see. He falls down. That's the issue, right? Because you're playing behind here to avoid STK, but then the guys from the other side can see you, and then you're screwed. It's all about timings. And because they never had to leave, they were essentially screwed in the beginning. Oath, they managed to make their way in. How did that come to be? They pathed in the open. They took the dip on the backside of the compound. VTS were busy shooting at the like engagements down here, I believe. Yep, they were trying to hold out 303, and you can see all of them committing to shooting in this direction. So smart play by Oath to go, okay, VTS is VTS are looking elsewhere. Let's make the move now. You see, they're still shooting down in this direction. I should change the color. Still shooting down in this direction, and that means that Oath can wrap around the back because VTS would have had vision on quite a lot of their rotation. So smart play by Oath to make it into the circle. They all get in there, actually. Impressive play. It'll have to leave their compound at some point soon. FBL playing pretty chill on the north side. They have the Ridge to play around. STK, again, they allowed for Hard to come in, and I like the fact that they backed off of this position to alleviate some of the pressure, because they cannot, I mean, you don't want to be the ham and the sandwich. You need to push one side. You need to force a side to back off, because if you should stay alive, you're just never going to win those games. If you're the team that is in the sandwich of a third party, or like of a three-way fight, I don't have the stats to prove it, but it has been a very long time since I've seen one of those teams end up winning games when you're kind of the team that's fighting both teams at the same time. So STK wants to get rid of one of the teams. Now they're inside and hard, isn't it? That's a clear, like that's a pretty straightforward call for them to try and hold out. You can see that's exactly what they're doing. As soon as they wrap around, as soon as they start fighting, they need to hold out. But now FPL is crossing the road in vehicles. Okay, that's aggressive. Down to 7 teams alive still. There's surprisingly many players alive in this circle considering how open this area of the map actually is. FPL still up with 4. How many kills do FPL have at this point? And I know that I should move my webcam and all that stuff to the other side because now you can't see what I'm seeing. FPL has 8 kills at this point. Okay. Eagleton still alive, tries to claim some points. Benson, this is like the solo side of the circle. FPL played this game pretty smart. And that's a cleanup. Easy peasy. Yep, there you go. They played the north side. They're just following the ridge, like the edge all the way around. Edge, edge, edge. Let everyone else fight. If teams come to you, you'll fight them. And then in the end, you can start spreading out and engaging. I like their call to cross the road and take the fight to Luke when he was solo. Because, again, you don't want to be the one in the middle. So should STK have finished the fight over here and Ill stayed alive up here, they could have pushed them from both sides. And then FBL would have been kind of the ham and the sandwich. So smart play by FBL to commit to going over, clearing out STK to then push back to the other side. It's a good play by them. Yeah, Tickleton stayed alive for a while actually. Just sneaky peeky soloing his way forward. Gets 1 kill, gets 2, gets a flush, gets 1 more kill, gets 1 more kill. Holy moly, Tickleton! How many kills do we have at this point? 5 kills. Impressive play. And gets himself a, I believe, 4th place. No, is it 5th place? Yeah, 5th place. Decent solo, decent, pretty good, I should say. Solo performance by him. But that was game number 1. Let's hop on over to game number 2. Let me just change that. And let me just go there. There we go. Game number 2. I'm not surprised, Mo, because they were shooting quite a bit earlier as well. Plane, pretty straightforward, straight north to south. Which means Elazahar is probably not going to be taken. Ooh, and then we got a funny one. Okay, interesting circle. For multiple reasons. A lot of terrain that can't really be utilized for anything. This over here, not gonna happen. And to be honest, in a circle like this, you could actually see. I don't think Duel will do it because they're close enough to just rotate on land, but Ends, I mean, we had this circle in EU, actually, last week. You'll see that later if you stick around here. And Ends won the game by rotating over Los Hijos. They won it, was it the very first game of the tournament? Yeah, it was. It was the very first one where TSM got 10 kills and Omagen got 7 kills. It was a cluster. There was an absurd fight for this. No, it was up here. It was over here. Like there was like 6 teams fighting for 2 shacks. It was pretty entertaining, not gonna lie. But very similar circle. I don't remember if the playing path was similar as well. But this one is gonna be fun. Because here you have a lot of opportunities to get inside the circle, obviously, but it's what you do with it. Because if we draw a line like this, you guys might, we can remove this real quick. This is like, actually it's not exactly like this. It's more like, like that to some extent, minus this part down here. This is a mount, like this is uphill. So if we do the kind of the terrain view, we'll draw downhill on all of this, a little bit downhill, and then downhill on all of this, right? Which means that if you're coming from the north in this circle, whoops, whoa, what's going on? If you're coming from the north in this circle, after land, and it's not looting, obviously. If you're coming in from up north in this, then you won't have a chance to scout anything south of the red line until you're at the red line. Does that make sense? Because, I mean, I don't think I have to explain it. It's because you're looking uphill, so you cannot see what's on the other side of the hill, unless if you're cheating. Which I don't think anyone is doing in this tournament. So you cannot see anything on the other side, which means that in order to scout forward, you need to actually get pretty far inside the circle. And we've already just said that, let's draw it in blue. This is water in terms of, this is not going to be played because you simply cannot get there. Like you cannot even parachute there. People have tried. Games have been restarted because people failed parachuting. So this area is a no-no, and we did say that people could go minas, and they still can, so there's a chance they will do that. But other than that, the south side will be a no-go as well. So you can kind of see, if we draw up in blue, if we draw up this down here, the water, and we just say that for now, this is a no-no as well. If this is a no-no, and you're coming in from the north, and you have to be past the red line in order to see what's more center, or like who is more center, I should say, you're really limited in what you have to play around. Does that make sense? Because it's, I mean, you want to have vision, and if you're sitting up here, let's say McCoy and Waldo maintains this split for this phase. They're probably gonna rotate, but let's say they stay. If next phase goes south, they have no info. They're just playing reactionary on everything. And that's going to be difficult because in this area of the map, you're forced to, well, you want to keep your vehicles for as long as you can. Let's remove this again. You want to keep your vehicles for as long as you can because you're probably going to need them for rotation. You don't want to be forced to try and run through a field because that's most likely going to get you killed. So you find yourself in a weird situation where you want to play safe, but you have to rotate. But you don't have the info to rotate to play safe. Because it's hard to play safe if you don't know what's going on. Yes, you can just try and sit on the edge of a circle, but what is that going to get you? So you need to dare, like, to make those aggressive rotations to get info. And that's where those steep mountain lines, it's kind of the same thing over on the east side of the map. People don't really think about it. Like, if you just watch a map stream or if the viewers just watch, same thing here. If... I guess we can just start it from here. This all the way through here, you cannot scout from the south. Like anything on the other side of the green line, you cannot scout from the south. So if you're down here, you have no idea what's going on up there. I mean, you can hear stuff and you can see the kill feed, obviously, but it's really hard to scout forward. So sometimes when you have those eastern plains and eastern circles, they end up showing kind of a similar situation where you don't know what's going to happen and what to do. So you want to find yourself around those ridges. That's really like the golden spots in these type circles where you have a chance to go both ways. If you find yourself anywhere along like the mountain lines where you have vision on both sides, then that's your golden spot where you have a chance to, maybe not specifically there, but around Chuma or like the Chuma Hills or stuff like that. That's where you want to play from to get as much info as possible early on, that is. Or at least just have some way of getting vision. Look at this. Radiance instantly rotate to a high ground position. Look, high ground position, high ground position, high ground. Finna, high ground position. Everyone wants to get up so that they can see far, which makes perfect sense. Radiance and comets start overlapping a little. Continue to rotate around. Duel did go around. Okay, so Duel were down here. I thought we were just going to send it underneath, but they were, I guess, taking a little longer in looting. It's already 7 minutes in. So they opted to go over the island. Makes sense. They probably know they're not going to be beat on it, so makes good sense. Wooly stays, tries to scout forward this way. They go up and they get themselves a decent position towards the west. Makes pretty good sense. Now let's see where the next circle pops. Oh my lord, hard shift north again. Now it's the same thing, just going the other way, you know? I mean, as we were talking about before, you can't really see what's up here. At this point, it might not matter all that much because you know you're going to have so many more opponents around you because, well, we're later in the game. So the player per square meter amount is going to be higher. Also, we haven't lost a single player in the first rotation. That's actually kind of impressive. I don't know why, but lately I just feel like there's always at least 1, 2, 3, or maybe even more people that die early game. Is it just me? Maybe people be more careless or people play more aggressive. I don't know. But I feel like at least in EU, we lose surprisingly many more players early game than what we used to. I don't know if it's because people have got more ballsy or if it's the barrel that's just killing everything or what it is, but I don't know if you guys agree with me. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching there as well, let me know. Do you feel like people die more early game than what they used to? I don't know. Toxic ghetto. Toxic, toxic, toxic. FPL and Duel fighting on the hillsides. Again, high ground, high ground, high ground. Everyone's wanting some vision. And then we have this area, which is a hellhole. And I will, we can talk about it in a moment, depending on where the next circle goes. So it's not so relevant. Not so relevant in this circle. It's somewhat, but not that relevant. Comets are gonna try and wrap around, get inside Chuma. I would assume no reason to sit up here any longer. What do you do if you're on the west side? Because if you draw a line, let's cut this one through. On this side, we have, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. On this side, we have 11. So if you're Radiance here, what's the bicep? Like, what's the smarter play? Just rotate over to the other side of the circle. Okay, easy enough. Or is it? Because on the map it looks pretty simple. Just rotate over here. There's space over here. Just go there. It's not that easy. Mainly because this mountain is gonna slow you down quite massively. Unless if you have 4 bikes, so you can see Gaxi does have a bike. But unless if you have 4 bikes, this rotation, despite the distance not being that far, it's gonna take you quite a long time because you're going a lot uphill and then a lot downhill. And if you're driving around a Mirado or something that flips all the time, then you're not gonna have it easy. So while that rotation makes sense, it's gonna take a while, and by the time they get over on the other side, that spot may have already been taken. Let's see, they are rotating up that way. But you can see it's not exactly a speedy rotation. Like this, Danny just sends it through the field. That's how fast you could rotate had it just been a pancake you were driving on. But they do manage to make their way around. And again, we still have a pretty big divide in how many teams are north and how many teams are south. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 teams south. And 11 teams north. Circle goes out into the open. And now I guess we can kind of shed some light on this area. The area is in between this, this, and this, and that. So if we draw a line connecting these dots, this area in here is a suicide place. As long as any of the well, formerly red marked spots are inside the circle, which right now 4.5 of them are, playing this is going to be extremely difficult because you're so exposed. You're really out in the open. There are trees, there are different cacti. Is that what it is? Cactus in plural? Is cacti? I would think so, right? But there are spots that you can play for cover. But overall, it's just it's a hellhole to have to try and fight your way through. So avoid that as much as you can, unless if those spots, as I drew up before, are no longer inside the circle. SDK tries to rotate forward, not gonna happen. Again, a lot of out in the open areas you cannot really play all that well. You can try and cross and maybe fit one guy in there, but you could never play 4 guys on Matt's position, I would think, especially not at this point in the game. So everyone's forced to spread out. Now we're going even more up here. And now is when you can start considering, say, okay, it's not a good spot, but we have to commit to something because we cannot sit outside the circle. So you just turtle down somewhere. You find a car, use it for cover, and sit inside a shack. That's your strat opportunities. And everyone else just try to hold out on the edge. Push in, contain. Because at this area, you want to have space for yourself. You don't want to have a neighbor over the next ridge because, well, you never know, first of all, when an aid is going to come flying by, or if another team decides to do something wonky and engage you, then you know for sure that the team that is sitting next door will be trying to third party. So you want to have some space to breathe and to move around. Like ATC, they've done a good job of maintaining control of the like the hilltop ridgeline. Ill try to make their way in. They're getting slaughtered by Sonics. Gaza ends up falling. Everyone on the ridge here is trying to fight their way. Again, ATC doing a great job of maintaining control. Comments from the other side need to do something. Are they crashing the shack? Indeed they are. And then they're all dying. Sonic's staying inside the compound. I like it. No reason to leave, and you don't have to, as long as you make sure that no one's coming in front of you to contain you, which they did by, well, first of all, shooting a lot of people, and now by pushing out to gain extra control. And now we're out in the open. I mean, again, this is an area of the map now where it gets really difficult to do a in-depth analysis of, just because we only have the map view. There's a lot of trench fighting, a lot of close quarter, really intricate, like peeking and control plays that you can do, which it's just kind of pointless to try and analyze off of a map view. So that was game 2. We will hop straight on in. Game number. We have quite a few of these games to analyze today, guys, so stick around. Circle. No, yeah, that's right. They're playing all the... I forgot about that. They're only playing a Miramar on one day, and then only a Wrangler on another day. Plane, pretty straightforward. Does touch the circle exactly. And again, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's going to be space over here. The teams will know that. And the thing is, if you then get one more shift in that direction now, that's where you really got to keep in mind, wait, how was the plane path again? Because that's when you can get some of those really good spots that under normal circumstances wouldn't be available. You can get those because, well, at this point of the game, no team would have had a chance to make it there. It's just sometimes you end up going, oh, but that's the, that's the super good compound. Why would we even care to scout that? Because it's obviously already taken. But then you go, wait, no, the plane path was like super far away and we're the only team here. That should be available. And then, well, yeah, sometimes you can get yourself into some pretty decent spots. Let's see. A lot of teams trying to maneuver in from the west. There's enough space to maneuver your way through. We have La Bandida, Ridgeline, Crater, hilltops around. And then we have, of course, the big, open, nasty, what some people call Ensfield, or, yeah, probably different regions have different names, obviously, they do. Is this the Comets Field? Nah, it's probably something with Tempo Storm, I would assume, because they used to always land here, as far as my memory serves me. SDK, VTS fighting for high ground control. New circle. It's going to pop down south. We've seen these circles 1 billion times before. So not a whole lot of new under the sun. Teams tried to maneuver through Los Leones all around. FBL were sitting here trying to scout forward, but here comes 303 straight through the middle. And FBL are forced to try and fight them off. Landoon gets high ground on them. The remaining players push underneath. Now you take a fight to each other, and in the meantime, while you're trying to finish a fight quickly, other teams are starting to come in because the circle just shifted in your direction. And that's where the third party alert is, wee, get this fight over with quickly, or more teams will be joining. You gotta get that done pretty fast. Up towards the north, Oath, wrapping around LBR, okay. They're gonna go play the jump. Valley, I don't know what people call this, but I don't think that really has a name either. But now there's jump there. That could be a name. But then again, there's jumps everywhere, so it's probably a little dangerous calling a spot the jump, because if there's a lot of them, you know? Like have a spot called the shack, if there are many of them. I'll just call them what Salty would do. My mark. And then we go east, and now we know, of course, not shifting to you, not shifting to you. So the circle's gonna go somewhere over here, or if it can, nah, it shouldn't be able to fit down here. So somewhere down towards Jewel. So Jewel's compound will be a very interesting one. Wooly might want to get back towards his teammates. Yep, he does that instantly. I was gonna say, all of a sudden this compound has become a lot of very prio compounds to stay in, because I mean, it's pretty open, which is both good and bad. It's good that it's open. Or I should say it's bad that it's open, because it means that you're exposed a lot. But it's good that it's open, because it means that if another team tries to crash you, then most likely, let's say, I don't know, let's say Zenith for some reason feels like crashing this compound, Comets will have complete vision on it, and they will, if you stay inside and the Zenith players are running around outside, then Comets will obviously be shooting at the Zenith players because they're the ones they can see, and that's going to help you out. So sometimes it's good that your compound is kind of exposed, because it means that other teams will hesitate more to crash it, because third parties will favor the team that is inside the house and not outside. GG, they're going to go for the dip. Good thing for Wooly that he got to leave earlier. Hard. It took a long time trying to figure out where they wanted to go. Now they're going underneath LPR, and they wrap around. Smart play. Smart play. To go over the top here. Wap does get knocked. Circle, as expected, goes straight back to where we were before. That's why I kept the camera there. Rip is... he's kind of far away. He's chilling on this outside of the circle. VTS needs to push in. They're just waiting for Impala to get cleared out so they can push forward on foot. They could go play the dip up here. That's viable if they can get there. Or they can play the dips on the other side, I guess. That's also an option. Fights escalate in the north. I mean, we're reaching a point where there really aren't that many spots available anymore. You can play the silos. I'm actually a little surprised. Has anyone been at the silos at any point of the game? Okay, now they do. Okay, so CG, they leave. Whenever the next circle pops, CG leaves and goes to the silos. I was going to say, it's weird to me that no one has opted to play it earlier. Well, there really isn't a whole lot to play. It's a lot of those areas now where this spot only works if that area is not in the circle, that area is not taken by anyone, and this area is free. So you're in trouble if you have 38 alive in this area, or in this circle, because I mean, no matter where you position yourself, unless if you're inside a house, unless if you're inside a building and you're hiding in the bathroom, it's gonna be really hard to sit in a spot where no team can see you. Most likely, one team will have eyes on you from either one or another angle. Jewel, still chilling in the compound. Free me, please. Just proning all of the names. Like, I don't want to get shot at, because this is what's going to happen. And this is, again, a should have committed earlier. Look at this. Had Comets managed to push the dip before DGE, they would have been sitting there waiting, shooting at them as soon as they arrived. But because they hesitated with the rotation, I'm not sure why, now they rotate. But by the time they get up here, it's not that far rotation. It's only, what, 50, 100 meters? Because they're out of the vehicles again. Then they flush one. Now they try and rotate. DG is in position. CG are in position. What are you going to do, Comets? Explode in the outer atmosphere. I tried to make a cool joke about comets, you know. Didn't really work that well. But it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Duel, oh my lord, they're getting lucky with these circles. The thing is, I mean, how many kills does Duel have? They have 2. That's what I was going to say. Duel probably don't get that big a game off of this. They probably don't get that big a game off of this. Because, I mean, obviously, placement points alone are great. But it's not going to be that 15 kill win. Because they just haven't had a chance to really engage in a whole lot. So you take these games as a, you know what, I mean, I don't mind getting gifted circles. And Oath, on the other hand, they've been fighting quite a bit. They have 9 kills. So, unless if Oath gets eliminated now, which they won't, because I would assume Crawfish goes down first, yep. Then, even if Duel wins this game, Oath will still have had more points this match than they will. Does Ice Tech get second place? Does Ice Tech win this game? That would be sick. They're fighting a lot. I mean, Ice Tech is clapping his hands. No, no mind. Come on, 1v2. Ice Tech, I believe. 1. Wait, he got the res while he was moving? That's impressive. Probably some vicious stuff. Come on, Ice Tech. Oh, so close. Yes, you can do ! program in the chat, and you will get a link to where you can sign up and stuff. But that was game number 3. Now we're headed to the last game of day number 1. Last Miramar game of the week. And again, I'm sorry we didn't get these streams started earlier, but again, my back is, and it still is, pretty sore. A little further up the plane. There we go. Let's see. That is as center as can be in terms of where players landed. We have 4 teams that are not inside the circle already. Radiance did go down here when they had the chance to. Okay, so it was just before they didn't in the first game. I was a little confused by it too, why they were up there, but because I was thinking that the plane path would have allowed them to shoot over, but then of course, if you're flying over Picado when they land on a roof, get a gun, then you could get unlucky and get shot out of the air. Lavendita split. I like this LBR split actually. Ice Tech all the way down there. It's a little isolated, but it's not that big of an issue. Still, this early on, you have a chance to get away if you want to. Big start, making his move to take a compound. Let's see what's gonna happen. Ice Tech sprints back to his teammates. Ah! Sonics are coming! Get me out of here! Makes perfect sense. They're still in a really, really good split. Actually, this is still... I really should be going forward, right? Yeah. Why does Matt leave concrete, though? Of course, I mean, they want to be closer to one another. But this is actually still a pretty scary split because you cannot see each other in this split. The ridge here is so steep. Like, they cut off. The ankle is... or as we would say in snowboarding terminology, the knuckle is so steep that you cannot look into this compound from up here, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can. I'm pretty sure you can't. Everyone's slowly making their way forward. Sonics maintain control of the top. Makes sense. So Mime goes into the compound. Maybe he needed something. Normally wouldn't really care too much for this compound, but Mime is there. Getting himself looted up. 303. 303 are leaving surprisingly late from Monte. They've done that quite a few times now. They do get a kill. Okay, so that's maybe gonna make them stick around a little more. But they're not leaving before 8 minutes in. If you look at FaZe Clan, they're normally out of the gate earlier. I guess it depends on the circles, but well, okay. Let's rewind a little. If you know for a fact there's Team Picado, there's a team down here, there's a Team Chuma, there's Team Power Grid, because that was the case, right? Yeah. Hard, Radiance, Sonics, and BTS. Then your chance of rotating in early is like, well, ain't gonna happen because we have 4 teams in front of us. But still, I would think like D-Ridge to go take something up here earlier so that you could at least sit and look forward. And here, okay, now they're leaving, now we can push even further. Because they could have been in stuff like this now, had they rotated earlier out. But instead, they're still looting over in Montenuevo. So all the stuff that Hard ended up getting is an area that 303 could have taken had they rotated out earlier and had vision or knowledge that Radiance had left. And they're still not leaving. Like now they're rotating. I mean, they're still gonna get it, to be fair. So it didn't make the biggest difference in this situation, but could have went out earlier. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Circle goes east. Doesn't really matter. Down through Los Leones we go. This is where I expect the FPL to just full speed send it. Because making this rotation now is simply going to take too long. By the time you get inside the circle, all this will have been taken by the teams up top anyway. So we might as well just send it through the city. No, FPL actually rotate north around. Okay. Huh. They rotate north over. 303 is doing what I expected FPL to do, and FPL would have beat them to it. Landoon, same as we saw before. We saw them do this exact same thing earlier. Landoon goes up on the ridge line, scouts forward, tries to see what he can find. This time around, they aren't going to be contested. Another rotation coming in from the south. That's Radiance, rotating all the way around. You can see how late they are on it. They're not in before now. Now the circle shifts back. What do you do if you're caught down here now? You can't really rotate through and into the city again. So you need to take the fight either uphill or try and wrap around into the field. That is an unfortunate area to be forced into if you're Radiance. Now they have to take a cluster fight with Hard. And they die. That's unfortunate. It's a tough shift if you're Radiance, even though it comes towards you and you go, oh, but then it's not bad. I think Radiance would have rather had a northeast hard shift that actually shifts further away from them, because then they could have just continued. Whereas because it goes down here, but completely isolates them with 303 on the ridge, that's like a ugh, god damn it type circle. Didn't really help them out at all. Fuel, they're gonna chill in the compound. LBR chilling up on the hill in the compound there. Compound. And people are complaining about Vikendi. I'm excited for the whenever we get a Miramar. Just like we have had Erangel remastered, Sanok remastered, Vikendi kind of remastered with the trains and everything. I wonder what they will do to Miramar. Maybe their remastering was adding the jumps and all that stuff. But I'm a little excited to see what that's all about, if it's gonna happen eventually. Forcing everyone into a field. This is hard to play. Obviously, you can play inside the compound, so that doesn't count. But at this point, you don't want to be anywhere here, because the hills are still in, which means that you will be exposed to somebody. It's pretty easy, Hagen. You just either you have 2 monitors and you put one thing over here, one thing over there, or you just have both of them not in full screen. You can do that. I believe in you. Or, to be fair, you could watch one of them later. So it depends on which one you think is most important to watch right now. Do you want to watch the games live and feel the, oh, it's happening right now or 15 minutes ago vibe? Or do you want to be here where you can ask questions and we can talk about it? Because if not, then either you can watch PCS Asia on YouTube or VODs, or you can watch my stuff on VODs. So, up to you. Both of them are available at a later stage. you're forcing teams into La Bandita, and there's obviously only going to be one team that gets out of there alive. Whichever team that is. The thing is, if the next circle doesn't go La Bandita, I actually like that VTS went out again. So they came into La Bandita, but they never really committed to the, I guess you can say, city portion of it. They backed out and played the riches again, because they know it's not pointless, but it's really tough to fight inside here, because while this is going on, it seemed like LBR could get up on the ridge and hold. These guys could get up on the ridge and hold. So VTS realizes, okay, there's no point in getting kind of locked in inside the crater. Let's go up on the ridge and see what's going on out here. Smart decision making on their part. And now they're getting knocked, so that's unfortunate. But the idea still stands. Or the idea still makes sense. Alleviate some of the pressure from outside so that you can focus in. Because if there was a full 4-man team just sitting out here chilling, and you start fighting STK inside, you're damn sure that these guys will be pushing up the hill and engage on you. Even now, I mean, they're still driving forward when they're only 2 players. So, smart play by VTS to try and maintain control out there. 303 down south. They have FBL in front of them. Breakers up on the north side. Oh, and they're getting knocked from elsewhere. That's unfortunate. That allows for 303 to wrap around. Because I was going to say, if FBL is smart about this, they just isolate. Like, they just sit up here, make sure that 303 cannot push into the circle. But 303 is allowed to wrap around. And then there was also a Comets player inside the compound still, apparently. They get around, get themselves inside the circle. They are just fine in there. Now we're forcing everyone out into the open. It's a massive, I mean, it's not an open field, but it's an open hillside. You have the compound up here. You have some small areas. You can kind of play with some sort of cover. It's not nibbles. It's just positions. I should have made X's instead. Then you guys wouldn't be so immature. SDK needs to, I mean, the thing is, at this point, you can only have one team playing inside. So either it's going to be Zenith, STK, or Oath. And Oath just died. That ain't going to happen. STK will have the entire ridge to play behind. And at this point, you're going to make up your mind. Do we try and wrap around this way? Take the fight to Zenith with the fear of LBR potentially having eyes on us? I can't really tell if at that specific angle. If LBR can see them. I think they can. Actually, I think they can. Yeah, they can. They can see them. Because this is where there's like the little port thingy, and you can see them from the compound running around out there. They need to take the fight to LBR. That's pretty straightforward. You cannot push up this way because you'll get seen, and then they will shoot at you as well. You got to take the fight down in this direction. Makes pretty good sense. Try and hold out, play below the compound. To be honest, given how much time, I know they're only 3 alive, but given how much time LBR has had, I'm surprised they allowed for them to push forward. Now, they probably threw smokes and stuff that we cannot see. But I would have thought that LBR would have done more to try and hold them from being able to get inside the circle. Because it seems like they're being pretty passive. Zenith driving around towards FBL. They need to take the fight to some team. And then run back in. Okay. And now they're getting knocked because they didn't get out in time. Had they been down in Guav's position, they would have been alright. Yep. They should have committed to try and remove them earlier, because now they end up getting themselves trapped inside the compound. It's very similar to what we saw with Sonics in the previous game, or game previous to the previous game. Where they all just pushed out as 4, started clearing out the sides. Whereas to Matt stays inside, Adit is up there as well. They never really get the pressure on their opponents. Again, it's very easy to say for us who are not playing the game. But I think they could have been more aggressive. Yeah, I mean, even if it's STK, you're playing the same tournament. You cannot be scared of a team. I mean, you cannot be afraid of taking a fight to a team. Then you're never gonna win tournaments if you're playing with fear. You gotta say, we have a best position right now. We gotta hold them out. You cannot play afraid. Then you're never gonna win games. Oh, you might win games, but you'll never win tournaments. And see, Zenith could kill them. Straight up 4v3, ends up taking them out. GG wins the game. And that, my friends, was day number 1 of PCS2 NA. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the